So what we're hoping to achieve in Tema is, first of all, to go in there and to partner with people. The last thing we want to do is come across that, here we are, we're going to show you what to do. That's definitely not the approach that we're having. We're going to be partnering with the locals to assist them, to work with them as a team in building a bridge. But not only are we looking at building a physical bridge, but we're going to be looking at building bridges between nations and between cultures, and building a friendship, so that by the time we leave, not only will we leave a physical bridge behind, which is obviously going to impact them enormously, but we will be leaving behind a friendship. We'd have been leaving behind the fact that we've hopefully transferred some skills to the locals, because there's not only one bridge to be built, there are many bridges, so that they can carry on with the remaining bridges and with less of our input to build those bridges.
When we arrived, we started off with a site investigation with my colleague Tony and our director Peter. We went up to the bridges just to take some site measurements and some site geometry and see if there's any site constraints, and see whether or not our design in the first place was feasible. So down we came to the bridges, and then soon we all realized that the original design wasn't as feasible as we thought it would be when we were planning it in Australia. Interesting enough, we had to come up with a new construction sequence for this new design, and the construction sequence is actually quite simple for the locals to follow. And that is, first of all, we have the existing bridge, and then we will strip off all the old planks. And after that, we will try to re-level most of the stringers as much as we can, so that we get as smooth as possible, physically possible, or not physically possible, but with the labour that we have, a level deck. And after we do that, we will install new deck planks, which will provide the formwork for the concrete. And after the installation of the deck planks, we will install the side shutters along the edges of the bridge. As with the workers doing the planking, it was very interesting how fast they picked up the methods and the techniques that we taught them, and pretty much with one or two goes, they really just all started picking up the hammers and started using the same methodologies and techniques that we've shown them very successfully, and we're very encouraged to see that. It wasn't as simple as, we have this big moving van readily available, and we can pack everything in and just drive off. It was a case of human power. Next moved on to forming up the side shutters for the deck, for the concrete pour, in preparation for the concrete pour. And that itself was a really big challenge, because we needed the shutters to be leveled in the first place, and that involves putting up a string line on the edges of the bridge to ensure we achieve minimal structural thickness of the deck, because the deck itself is not leveled. So at some places we might have 300, at some places we might have 350 for this bridge behind me. So we had to ensure that 300 is maintained, in particular at the mid-span. We were worried that when we poured 300 thick concrete, that under its self-weight it will sag significantly. So what we did was we cut off some of the existing rotten timbers, stringers, and we actually laid them on the riverbed and used them as the strip foundation. We actually propped up the existing bridges at 2 points to ensure that when we have temporary traffic loading, and also during the concrete pour that the bridge won't sag significantly under its own weight. Our next stage involved getting ready the reinforcement to be laid onto the bridge, and also the plastic sheeting, but prior to that we actually needed to form up bar chairs. Fortunately enough, one of the assistant district engineers came up one of the days, and he provided us a alternative solution to making concrete bar chair or grout bar chairs on site. So we formed up these small bar chairs, which are around 40mm high, and we actually used them to lay the reinforcement on. The next stage involved preparing the reinforcement for the structure, and I was very surprised, or we were all very surprised, how fast they caught on and how much they enjoyed tying reinforcing. And the reinforcing was tied so well and so tightly. We were just, so amazed and so encouraged. Once all the aggregates and sand and cement arrived on site, we actually proceeded into mixing the concrete to what our director calls the African pie method of mixing concrete. And that is to first of all layer the sand and cement in the right quantities on the ground, and then to mix them thoroughly, and then spread them out, and then after that we will also put in the right quantities of aggregates on top, and then to spread them out like a pie, and then we will add water in sections, and then we will slowly mix and eat our way out of the pie. We got a team of people mixing concrete with shovels and adding water, and we also got a line of people moving concrete in buckets, and then we got at the end of the other line we have people pouring and compacting concrete. This worked really well because the bridge was quite long, and people were just stuck with just one task, and at the end of the day we got the workers to sign their names onto the concrete so that their names can be locked away for the future generations to see. And at the same time we want to encourage the workers to take ownership and pride in their work, because at the end of the day BG&E is here to transfer knowledge. We really want the workers to have these skills and knowledge to continue to do these construction works for themselves when we leave, so that they can be independent, they can feel a sense of responsibility, pride and ownership for the structures or any other works that they will have in the future.